Good morning, Revolution Church. How we doing? Would you guys make some noise? Come on, celebrate. Man, it is a crazy dark day outside, isn't it? I woke up and I had to look at the clock a couple times and go, is this the right time to be awake? It was just so dark. I was driving into church and I was like, is it like daylight savings time or like spring forward, spring back? Something's messed up right now. And I'm not quite sure what it is. And I kept looking at the time, and I even texted a friend, and they're like, well, they're awake, so we must be in the right spot. If I'm awake and they're awake, we're in this together. And so I really want to say thank you guys so much for being here this morning on a rainy day. On a rainy day. I always know when it rains in Texas, people about lose their minds. They don't know what to do because it's raining. Like, oh, we can't go outside today. It's raining. I'm like, dude, it's just a little bit of water. I'm from up north, and it like snows and ices, and we're like, yeah, we're going to church today. Of course we're going to church today. It's Sunday, right? So you guys are the faithful followers of Jesus at 8:30 in the morning. Come on, I'll honor you and praise you. Woo! All right. I always like to honor people whenever we get up here and just get to share. And one of the things I want to do is I want to honor Mark Simmons. Where's Mark at? Mark. He might be out there in the parking. I know he does parking. I can't see any of you guys. It's too dark out. But I want to honor Mark, and I want to honor Chad Mites for doing a phenomenal job with our landscaping. Can we honor these guys? Doing a great job serving God and making a difference. It really does make a difference in our church. And so we're here today. We're talking about this message series called Lost Values. And what we've been doing is we've been going over some of the values that our world has just kind of set to the wayside. We've not thought about it. We have not focused on it. Not been something that we really gather anymore. And I'm trying to preach this message series to have us download these truths into our lives and into our hearts and really teach our families to do the same. These values have the opportunity to make us become who we should be in Christ Jesus. This is God's word. This is teaching from his truth. And we believe all of the Bible is true, not pieces of the Bible, but all of the Bible is true. And so with that being said, week one, we talked about the lost value of honor, being able to honor one another and being able to truly show honor when honor is due. You know, the Bible says, let another man praise you and not you yourself. But the world nowadays, we don't honor anybody for anything anymore. So you just never get any encouragement if it just keeps going the way that it's going. So our culture at our church, we want to teach a spirit of honor. We talked about the lost value of purity and how people do not remain pure nowadays. They just kind of live for what feels good in the moment. And we talked about how God wants to give us something so much better than we could ever imagine, but we have to do relationships God's way. We talked about the lost value of loyalty. And by the way, that was a lot of fun being Disloyal Randy. If you caught it last week, I was able to wear my Disloyal Randy sign. And funny enough, we went on Monday and we looked at our live streaming views, and we had broke a record of how many streaming views we had in a 24-hour period. Hold on. 2,600 some people watched us preach that message last week. I don't know if they just like Disloyal Randy better than Loyal Randy, but I thought maybe I should just do that more often. I don't know. Super hard and uncomfortable to do, but I'm glad we did it. Next week, we're going to finish up this message series talking about gratitude. And we're going to talk about this lost value that people just, we're known as an entitled generation. We just think that we deserve everything and that everything is owed to us. And we're going to really pull in God's truth in this area of our life about being grateful for the things that we have. And I think that's going to be really a great way to just wrap up the whole message series. But today, I want to talk to everyone about this really important value of integrity. Integrity. Everybody on the count of three, I want you to wake up. It's 8:30 in the morning. You guys are already awake. I don't have to worry about you. Everybody online, wake up. We're going to talk about integrity. On the count of three, yell out integrity. 1, 2, 3, integrity. I hope you were in your living room and you just said integrity and woke everybody up, right? I hope that happened today. But the reason I think this is so important, this idea of integrity, I want to tell you a quick story. Don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it happened to me. Was at a little Walgreens, and I happened to buy something, and I gave the lady some cash. And when I gave her the cash, she gave me my change back, and I was walking out to my car, and I didn't really look at the money until I sat into the driver's seat, and I realized, wow, this lady gave me more money than she was supposed to. And it wasn't just a little bit more, it was like a lot more. I don't know if that's ever happened to you where somebody gave you the wrong change and, it's like, oh, that's not right. My first thought was, wow, God, you're so cool. You always provide. I thought, wait a second, that voice isn't from God, right? And then another little voice I had almost the same, second of thinking, wow, God, you provided was, I really need to go back in there and return this money. And so I go back inside and I say, ma'am, I don't know if you realize this, but I believe that you gave me too much change. And literally this little lady from behind the counter, her whole countenance changed, tears welling up in her eyes. She says, I cannot believe that you were honest. And I said, well, this isn't my money. I have to bring this back. And she said, no, you don't understand. And she proceeded to tell me what had happened to her. I guess this had happened a couple other times. Something happened. She didn't get the change right. And the first time they gave her a warning. The second time they said, listen, you're going to have to take all the money that you do that with, you're going to have to pay it back out of your paycheck. At the end of the night, whatever's missing, you're going to have to add up for it. And she said, I was told that if that happens again, that I would lose my job. She said, I cannot believe that you did the right thing. I said, it's really not that big of a deal. She said, can I come over? Can I hug you? Can I come up? I was like, sure, man. So we pat, hug, break, did the whole thing. And I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal. And she just could not stop going on and on about this idea that I had done the right thing. I thought, wow. I got a little line that I want you to write down here that I think is pretty important. We live in a world that's more shocked by integrity than lack of integrity. They're blown away when people do the right thing. Can't believe that you would do the right thing. But people are so lack of integrity nowadays that we're never shocked, are we? We're like, yeah, that person did that. Yep, Okay, it's like, ugh. No, it's never fun. It's never fun to experience a person that has a lack of integrity. But man, we sure are shocked by it when people do the right thing. Well, you can turn on the news almost every single day, and you can see these different areas of people of life, society, where people have lacked integrity. Could be an athlete that everybody, just adored, thought, man, this person's a wonderful athlete. But not only are they a good athlete, they're just a really good person. And you kind of follow them, but then later on somewhere in the news, I guess it comes out, they're not the person that we thought that they were. Could be a politician. Probably is a politician, right? Saying one thing and doing another. There's a lack of integrity. Quite honestly, it could be a Christian leader, somebody that you respected, somebody that you loved, somebody that you did life with, that they said they believed one thing, and then all of a sudden they came out to believe something different. It's a lack of integrity. Could be a close friend. We have friends that we've done life with for many, many years, and you love them, they love you. You thought they represented one thing, and then all of a sudden their actions showed that they represented something else. That's called a lack of integrity. Let's build a quick definition for this word integrity. This is really as simple as I think we can make it. When your behavior matches your beliefs. That's what integrity is. When your behavior, notice it doesn't say when your belief. Okay? Because a lot of people believe we should have integrity. Everybody in this room is going to say we should have integrity. I'm not talking about what you think that you believe or what you say you believe. It doesn't say when your words match your beliefs, right? Like, no. It's when your behavior matches your beliefs. Because saying that we believe something is different than actually walking it out and being that person. We need to be people of integrity. I say it like this. It's an integrated lifestyle. Means it comes together, it joins together. Integrity is when what you say lines up with what you do. When your private life matches your public life. When it's the exact same, it's verbatim, no matter where you go. I always say this, I want to be the pastor on the platform that's the same as the pastor over there in that row or over there in that room or outside or at Walmart or at home, wherever I go. If I'm going to stand here, I need to be the same person here as I am there. That's called integrity. Now, many people get this confused with reputation. Reputation. Well, my reputation. Reputation is more about who people think that you are. Integrity is who you actually are, okay? So we gotta distinguish the two and say there's a difference between people who people think you are and who you actually are. The book of wisdom, Proverbs chapter 11 tells us the integrity of the upright guides them. But the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity. Many segments of our society are destroyed by duplicity type leaders. double-minded people. People who ride the fence. They're halfway here and they're halfway there. And it's really tragic when people are more shocked by people having integrity than by a lack of integrity. I often think of this. You guys go into your businesses, places of employment, you're out there in the marketplace, and there's a lot of leaders that are double-minded. They're two-faced, right? I mean, I can't get more bold than what I'm saying. They have a lack of integrity. And then when you come into the church world, it's so easy to go, I've been burned by everybody that I see out there, to come into the church world and go, I don't trust anybody in here. We have to be aware of that. We have to understand what that looks like. And then we have to go, I don't know if I can trust God. It happens in here. We go, I don't know. I can't trust anybody. I don't trust nobody. I don't trust my mama, right? Like, we don't trust nobody. But we have to understand when God's word and his truth is spoken, we can trust God's word. Can I get an amen, somebody? We can trust God's word. God's word is truth. This lost value is so important to me. So important to me. Above all else, I truly want to be a person of integrity. Strive very, very hard to protect my integrity. It's a really big deal. One of my favorite characters in all the Bible is a guy named Samuel. And if you know the story, 1 Samuel chapter 12, if you don't know it, you can always go home and read it. The Bible's available to you there too. And this is really what I want my life to be about. I want my kids' life to be about this. I want my grandkids' lives to be about this, to do what Samuel did. You say, what did he do? Well, basically, at the end of his life, he stood before his entire community and he said, have I lived a life of integrity? Have I been who I claimed to be? Did I do what I said I was going to do? And if I haven't, man, free shot. Tell me now, and whatever I didn't do right, I want to make it right. Like, please let me know. Free shot. And the community looked at him and he said, man, you have been a person that has lived out your word. What you claimed you were going to do, what your mission was, you succeeded in your mission. You stood firm in that and you never wavered. And he was able to do this, and it was like, you are a man of integrity. And I just tell you, there's nothing else I want more than be able to stand at the end of my ministry and go, guys, free shot. Did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I claim one thing and do another, or did I actually live that out? Did I stand the test of time through the winds and the waves and the rains and the floods and every tornado that came? Did I continue to press forward and press on? And there may be people that go, I didn't like your style. I didn't like all your basketball illustrations. I didn't like the way that you talked about cats, because you have some cat jokes that I don't like. But at the end of the day, I can say that you lived out the mission that you came to do. That's my deepest desire, to be a person of integrity. And I think that if there's any verses in the Bible that kind of sum up the idea of integrity, we find them when David asked God the question. He said, who can dwell in the sanctuary of the Lord? Lord, who may dwell in your sanctuary? Psalm 15, 1 through 5, he kind of unpacks it. But what he's really saying in this first verse, who can dwell in your sanctuary? He's like, who can enjoy your continual presence, God? Who is worthy to actually have that communion with you? Who can walk with you and have fellowship with you, God? And God answers him in the next few verses. He says, the person who has integrity. And I want to show it to you right here. It says, Lord, who may dwell in your sanctuary? Verse 2, he whose walk is blameless and who does what is righteous. And I put my little word in here because this is what this is. That's integrity. Who speaks the truth from his heart. That's integrity. And has no slander on his tongue. We call that integrity. Who does his neighbor no wrong and casts no slur on his fellow man. We call that integrity. Who despises a vile man but honors those who fear the Lord. We call that integrity. Who keeps his oath even when it hurts. Who lends his money without usury. In other words, I'm not going to make a bunch of interest on you, and does not accept a bribe against the innocent. What do we call that? Integrity. He who does these things will never be shaken. He who does these things will never be shaken. He just outlined in the first 5 verses of Psalm 15 how to live a life of integrity. This is how we live a life of integrity. So if you're really wanting to download this, I would put in your notes Psalm 15, 1 through 5, and study through that and begin to evaluate yourself. Nobody likes to get uncomfortable, but sometimes we need to get uncomfortable and we need to say, hey, am I being who I'm supposed to be? Am I being who God called me to be? This is what integrity looks like. And if you read that and you go, right? Then there's something that God perhaps needs to work out in your life, that God's trying to work out in your life. But ultimately, you need to become who God wants you to be. There's a lack of integrity around us. Let's pull this value back. There's 4 benefits to living a life of integrity. Number 1, you can walk closely with God. If you live a life of integrity, you can walk closely with God. David literally said, who can dwell in the sanctuary of the Lord? And God replied back to him, those who have integrity. So if you feel distant from God, I'd ask you, do you live a life of integrity? Because if you don't, certainly there's going to be a rub. There's going to be a frustration. There's going to be something that's not quite right. It's not going to be in sync. It's not going to feel right because something is off. And it comes back to you living the life that God has called you to live. Think about the communion and closeness you can have with God if you do what God's word says. When we don't do what God's word says, our fellowship and our communion with him is broken. Something is severed. Something's not quite right. Let me give you a little real life illustration to help it make sense. If I, as a father, which I have 4 children, say, kids, these are our values. This is the family values. This is who we are. This is what we stand for. This is what we live by. If they choose to live according to our family values, there's going to be this closeness, this connectedness, this communion, this fellowship with each other in the family. However, if they go, Dad, your family values are dumb. I don't like your family values. I don't want to live according to your values. If they do that, guess what's going to happen? It doesn't mean I don't love them. I'll still love them, but there will be a strain in our fellowship. There will be a strain in our connectedness. It will be harder to be in sync. Harder to be in sync. So the first one you see if you live a life of integrity is you're going to have some closeness with God. Number 2, you'll have a built-in guide. It's a built-in guide. This is a big deal. The Bible says integrity of the upright guides them. The integrity of the upright guides them. Those who are righteous, who do the things that they're supposed to do, have this built-in system that they don't have to wonder, if I make this decision, it's kind of gray, but I think it'll be all right. No. It literally is, it's black or it's white, it's wrong or it's right. And we look at it and we go, because we have integrity, we're going to choose to do the right thing. We're going to let integrity be our guide, and we're going to be who God wants us to be. There's a joy on the other side, by the way, of doing what God wants you to do. And let me say this on the reverse. There's shame that comes with not doing what's right. There's a shame. So if you're feeling shame, that's not of God. Okay, that's from the enemy. The shame is what he wants you to feel, and you have to realign your life to what God's word says. Too many people, guys, even people that claim to be church people, that think that it's okay to pick and choose out of God's word what's okay and what's not okay. You don't get to determine what God's word says. It's already been determined. Okay? You can have your own opinion about it, and you can choose to be wrong. Okay? That's your choice. I'm here to tell you today that God's word is still God's word. And he didn't need you to come around in 2020 and determine what was right and what was wrong about his word. Thanks, but no thanks. Okay? Just letting you know. Just letting you know. Number 3, this is getting fun. Number 3, 4 benefits of a life of integrity. You walk closely with God. You have this built-in God. And then number 3, you'll have constant peace in your heart. And man, I'll tell you, there's nothing better than the peace that only God can provide. The peace that only God can provide. You know, when I lay my head down on my pillow at night, I don't have to worry. And I don't have to worry about, what if somebody finds out? Or what if I get caught? Well, you guys know how it goes. Right? Whenever you're living that kind of deceptive lifestyle, when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, what if my boss finds out I did this? I could lose my job. Whenever you lack integrity, you have those kind of thoughts. What if I'm exposed for something that I've been doing? What if my husband finds out I've been flirting with this guy at work? Or what if my wife finds out that I told her I was being honorable to her and faithful to her, but I've been looking at all these images on this screen? When you're living a life that's a lack of integrity, you're going to feel all those thoughts. When you live a life of integrity, though, you have peace. You're not worried about getting caught. You're not worried about something happening. You live without fear. There's just this peace. Listen, when you have integrity, you have nothing to hide. And when you have nothing to hide, there's no weight. I'm not carrying anything because I'm not hiding anything. I can just be who I am, and I'm not worried about whether this person, that person, or another person finds out anything. Well, I don't want to know that person. I was talking about this person. You don't have to worry if you just live a life of integrity. See, the problem is we live a life that has a lack of integrity, and that's what we're feeling on the inside. I don't know anyone who lays their head down on their pillow at night going, man, I hope no one finds out I did the right thing today. If they found out I did the right thing, it's going to ruin everything. Who has that story? Nobody. And then number 4, see, you gain this peace, and then you gain trust, respect, honor, and influence if you have integrity. And by the way, when you're in that room of people that have integrity, there's no confusion there. It's pretty easy to spot when people have it, and honestly, if you just really open your eyes to look, it's pretty easy to spot when people don't have integrity either. It really is. Now, you might deceive yourself into thinking, I don't think they meant this. No, if they're saying that and they're doing that and they're being that way, they can tell you, well, that's not who I am. Well, that's my biggest pet peeve. People saying, well, that's not who I am. Well, if that's not who you are, then why are you doing that way? How about instead of saying, that's not who I really am, because it is who you really are if you're doing it, how about you just own it and say, this isn't who I want to be. There's difference there. Everybody walking around, well, that's not who I really am. Well, if that's not who you really are, stop being that way, because everything that you're showing me shows that is who you really are. You have a lack of integrity, right? But you gain trust, respect, honor, and influence if you live this life of integrity. So in other words, I say it like this. If you want great children, be parents of integrity. If you want to raise great children, you need to be parents that have integrity. You can't, do as I say and not as I do. That don't work. How about do as I do because I'm modeling and showing you what integrity looks like? Is this a lost value, yes or no? It's a lost value, okay? If you want to be a great leader of your family, be a husband or be a wife of integrity. You'll lead your family to the greatest things. If you want to have influence in the business community, how about we do this? If you want to have influence in the business community, how about you be a person of your word? If you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you say it costs this price, you honor that price. You don't tack on to it. Whatever it is, you have integrity. If you have integrity, people will follow you. You'll have trust, respect, honor, and influence. Man, I think, I don't even have to survey you. I think everybody wants that. Then we go, that is the life that I want to live. That is who I want to be. The challenge is so many people in our world are not that way. We call them hypocrites. Hypocrites. You say, wait a second, Pastor. Are you calling me a hypocrite? Well, no, I'm just using the same exact word that Jesus used. So if you're uncomfortable, don't be mad at me, okay? Don't shoot the messenger. Let's talk about what Jesus said, because Jesus actually talked about hypocrites a lot. That word hypocrite literally means actor. They're an actor. That's what a hypocrite is. Somebody who claims to look one way and actually looks a different way. You may remember those old Greek plays and kind of the way that they did theater back in the day is they'd have a little stick, and on the end of that stick would be a mask, and they would have masks with different emotions on them. And they would have one actor who would go up and they would play the part of the real serious part, and the tears would be coming down the mask. But then they'd go pick up another stick and they'd hold it up to their face, and this would be joy and happiness. And then they'd have another one that would be anger, and they were playing all these parts. The mask had all these different emotions that they would lead people to believe that they're this way or this way. But behind the mask was the real person. And this is what a hypocrite is. A hypocrite is not showing who they really are. They're just acting. They're saying they're one way, but they're actually a different way. To illustrate this, you may have seen these before, and these are horrible pictures. Somebody made them out of clay, and I thought, that's the ugliest picture I can come up with. Let's use that one, okay, to illustrate it. And so you got all these different emotions. This is what being a hypocrite looks like. Having no integrity says, oh, I'm this one. And then to find out, you're not any of these. You're just playing a part. We're just playing a part. Jesus spoke about this and talked about hypocrisy a lot. And he actually talked more about the hypocrites than he did about the adulterers and the people that cheated and had other sins. He focused more on the hypocrites because he was really not happy with these people living this lifestyle. And so we'll read the scripture in just a second, but I got to tell you kind of a funny story about a time that I was just the worst hypocrite in the world, right? It's funny now, horrible back then. We'll laugh about it because it's a funny story, but at the end of the day, it's like, that just was no good. So back when life was easy for Amy and I, a while ago, okay? Because I got 4 children. Back whenever I had 2, just very easy to deal with children. They were young. Amy had just had Jace, my second child. We were looking for a swing to put the baby in. We were looking for a swing, and I remember we looked at one online. It was like $179 for this swing, and I thought, I'm not paying $180 for a dumb swing, okay? Like, we can figure something else out. There's got to be another way. And so I remember we went to a local garage sale, and I saw a swing, and we're driving up, and I go, Amy, look. And we go, that's our swing right there. That's our swing. Surely it's not going to be $180 for this swing. We walk up, right there on the front of this swing, it says $30. $30. And I'm like, oh, dude, I would have paid $40 and been the happiest guy in the world. But Randy immediately went into negotiation mode because that's what you do at the garage sale, right? I say, hey, ma'am, I'm looking at this swing and, I really like it, but it does have a scratch here on this side. Would you take $15 for this swing, right? And so this lady, she knows what's up, and she looks at me, kind of sizes me up. She's like, you punk. She didn't say that, but you could read it through her brain. And she goes, you punk. And she goes into negotiation mode. She said, I won't take a penny under $29. I said, well, $16, right? So we're on opposite ends, and we go into this vicious garage sale negotiation over this little swing. Now, Amy hates when we do this, okay? She's like, I'm going to the car, right? Like, I'm getting out of here. I hate that whole process. And so, the lady, we're kind of going back and forth, and I'm like, I can't pay what you want. She said 25. I said 18. And then finally, I pulled out what I call the trump card, okay? Not the Donald Trump card, just the trump card, okay? The trump card. And I said, ma'am, listen, I've got to be honest with you. I'm a dad of 2 very expensive children. I said, I'm a local pastor in a struggling church that's just getting started. And I said, I've got $20. Would you honor the $20? And her whole world changed. Her countenance changed. She looked, she goes, oh, my dad was a pastor. And she goes, I know what it's like to struggle. She says, I'll give it to you for $20. Okay, you say, where's this going, Pastor? It's about to get funny. So I go, thank you. I said, God will bless your garage sale. He'll honor you. We do that whole thing. And I grab my wallet, and the only bill I have in there is a $100 bill. And I said, wow, God multiplied my 20 into 100. And she said, well, God's blessing us both because now the price is $30. Paid the $30 and grabbed the swing and went away. Liar, liar, pants on fire. I was caught right there on the spot. That's what we call a lack of integrity. I've only got 20, but somehow I got 100. That's a lack of integrity. That's a good story to illustrate. And all of us, you say, Pastor, why would you go up in front of a bunch of people and say that? That's like not, listen, we're real, relatable, relevant. And if we're real with each other, I'm not the only person in the room that's ever had an issue with a lack of integrity. Can somebody throw up your hand and tell me I'm not alone right now? Come on, let's be honest. All right, good. About half of you be honest about it. That's good. We'll work on the other half. Here's what Jesus said. Jesus said this about hypocrites. He looked at the hypocrites and he said, woe to you. And whenever you see the words, woe to you, it wasn't like, hey, I'm about to tell you something. It was, you have no idea how much trouble you're in. Woe to you. You have no idea how bad this really is. Like you're unaware. Woe to you, teachers of the law, you Pharisees, you hypocrites. Jesus called them hypocrites. Okay, well, somebody was mad and they already logged off because I called him a hypocrite. This is what Jesus said. Jesus said, you're a hypocrite. And then he goes on, he unpacks it. He says, you clean the outside of your dish, of your cup. You clean that, but inside, you're full of greed and self-indulgence. You blind Pharisee. You're blind. You don't even realize how blind you are. You can't see it within yourself that you're a hypocrite. First, he gives some instruction. He says, first clean the inside of the cup and the dish, and then the outside also will be clean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you're full of hypocrisy and wickedness. Jesus is calling them out right now. He's like, this is not okay. You cannot continue to live that way. Just because you can fool everybody else on the outside with what you're bringing to the table doesn't mean that I don't see what's really on the inside. And we're in this politically correct culture where we're just like, we only let you see what we want you to see. That's just us wearing a mask. But I'm questioning today, and I'm challenging all of us, myself included, to go, what do we really got going on the inside here? Who are we really going on the inside? Let me say it like this. Write this down in your notes. Integrity doesn't start from the outside in. It starts from the inside out. Well, I'm a person of integrity. Well, you can fool everybody, but you can't fool God, dude. You can fool everybody, but you can't fool God. So let me ask you this question. I know some of you guys still got your phones out. Snap that photo. Snap that photo. Here we go. Ready? What's your integrity worth? What is your integrity worth? You say, what does that mean? Well, your integrity is worth something, and you're probably selling your integrity out, and you don't even really realize it. Let me give you some real life examples. Your actions are selling your integrity out. Real life example, maybe you wanted to get a specific job, and so on your resume, you put some stuff on there that's not really who you are. Like you don't really know how to do all those things. But you sold out on that resume your integrity. You sold your integrity for some perceived benefit, that you're going to get this job, it's going to pay you this much. That's what your integrity is worth. What do your actions say that your integrity is worth? You might have embezzled something from your work, and maybe it was something really small. Maybe it was just a ream of paper. You took a ream of paper home, and you said, I'm going to use this on my home computer, and I'm going to print some stuff on this, and you took it as yours. You took from your company. You sold out your integrity for about $11 for a ream of paper. Think about this. This is everyday stuff that happens. Maybe you falsified an expense report. Maybe you're in charge of the numbers at your job, and your boss comes in and says, hey, where are we at? Tell me what the numbers look like. And you go, deep down inside, hey, we're not really here, but I've put some numbers here to make it look a certain way because I don't want my boss to get upset. Don't want to have to deal with that. So because you don't want to have to deal with that, you sold your integrity to that. Whatever the case may be, maybe occasionally you work at your job and you overbill certain clients because you know they can afford to pay for it. This is what we call a lack of integrity. Okay, you're selling out for this. Maybe you exaggerate a story around your friends so you can be liked. You're selling off your integrity. Maybe you tell your spouse you love her and you honor her, and again, you look at things that are not right. You've sold out your integrity. Maybe you're a student, you're trying to get good grades, and you're just trying to get into law school, or you're trying to get this degree, and you have to cheat on an exam because you just didn't study hard enough, or you just didn't have time, life got busy, and you sold out your integrity for that type of thing. What is your integrity worth? Not what you say that it's worth, but what are your actions actually showing that it's worth? Because there's nobody in this room going to go, I just don't care about my integrity. I'm a person that has a lack of integrity. Nobody wants to admit that. So we would all say, we want to have integrity. But I go, if we want to have integrity, then our actions need to show our integrity. And listen to this, don't miss this, and we need to trust God with the right information. When we give our boss that information, we're giving the correct information. Sometimes you have to go in, you have to do what's hard. Your boss may be upset. He may be unhappy. But you did the right thing, and God's watching you, and God's going to honor you for your faithfulness to have integrity, not just at your work, but everywhere you go. He can bless you, and He can change your life, but you've got to live a life of integrity. I'll be flat out honest, blunt as a pastor here. In our church, sometimes people do things they shouldn't do, and I have to make a decision. Hey, am I going to tell them the truth? Or am I not going to say anything? If I don't say anything, I have a lack of integrity. To know the truth and to withhold it, man, that's not who God called me to be. But I know if I go and have this conversation, this person's going to get upset. They're not going to listen to me. They're going to leave. They're going to affect 6, 7 other families. Those people may leave. What can I do? Well, I have to choose. God, do I want you to bless me and my life personally and who I am? Because God, you're not going to stop walking with me after this conversation. I want you to be here this year, next year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I got to think about 30 years down the line of who God wants me to be and what God's going to do in this ministry. And if I have a lack of integrity, it's going to show. So I may have to go through some pain before God can take me through the process of deliverance through all that. But I'm willing to endure that because at the end of the day, I know that at the end of the day, I can lay down my head at night and go, I'm a person who's open, honest, and has integrity. That's what we need. What is your integrity worth? There's a guy in the Old Testament, you've probably heard of him. His name is Job. Job. My dad, when he first became a Christian, they asked him to work in the children's ministry and they asked him to teach. They gave him the lesson plan and he said, all right, kids, I think it was like second graders. He says, open up your Bibles to the book of Job. And he didn't know it was Job because he thought the whole book was about work life. He didn't know. He's like, our jobs, so I thought that was pretty funny. But if you don't know who Job is a character in the Bible who had a lot of integrity. He lived a life of integrity. And we see the story here is that Lucifer, or Satan, was criticizing God's people. And he was saying, God, he's having this conversation with God. He's saying, these people don't really love you. They don't really honor you. They only love you because you're good to them. And so he's kind of challenging God. And God says, no, you don't understand. He says, they really do love me. Some of them really are in love with me. Some of them really have integrity. He said, name one. He said, okay, I'll give you one. He said, there's a guy named Job. He said, oh yeah, Job, you just blessed him so much. That's why he honors you. That's why he loves you. He says, I'll bet if you let me test him, that he'll disown you. That his integrity will all go away. Just let me give him some trials and some tribulations. And it was like, let some storms blow. And I guarantee you he'll lose his faith. He'll walk away. So many do this. So many walk away. They can't handle it. They walk away. They give up in their faith with God. So many. But he says, okay, you really want to test it for whatever reason. I don't know why. You can ask God when you get to heaven why he allowed this to happen. But he says, take your best shot at Job. So the enemy, Satan, goes and he says, I'm going to take my best shot. He literally strips him of everything that was of value to him. All his possessions, even family members, people that he loved, passed away. So much so that his own wife looked at him and said, why don't you just forsake your integrity, curse your God, and die? Curse your God and die. His friends looked at him and said, all these bad things wouldn't be happening to you if you didn't do something wrong. You must have done something wrong that God would allow all this to happen. No, he really didn't do anything wrong. He was just living life. He just was tested, right? And nothing happened, but the enemy come through, did all this, and at the end of the day, Job in chapter 27, he says, no matter what, I will not deny my integrity. I will maintain my righteousness and never let go of it. My conscience will not reproach me as long as I live. In other words, my integrity is worth everything to me. I could never curse my God and die. Like to the end of my day, my final breath, I'm still going to be true to God's word. I'm never going to forsake it. Think about this life of integrity. That's what I want my integrity to look like. I hope that's what you want your integrity to look like. Pastor recently told a story of a time back in his youth whenever he made the tennis team. And he was so excited to make the tennis team, and they'd go traveling on road trips and play different people. And after he got done with the team, he had this coach named Coach Ken. Coach Ken was like this integrity freak. He was one of those guys that really, really, really believed that you should have integrity. Well, the guys all kind of got together after a match, and they went to play some putt-putt golf. Putt-putt golf, kind of this team-building exercise. And at the 18th hole, if you guys have ever been to putt-putt, how many of y'all putt-putt? You know putt-putt? Come on now, putt-putt. I'm trying different sports out every week here, but putt-putt, you made it into the sermon, right? So he said they got to the 18th hole, and at the 18th hole, when you put the ball in, it goes down the hole, and then it goes in a little tube, and then the ball drops out into a box, and they collect all those, and that way people don't steal the little putt-putt ball. Well, at the end of the 18th hole, the team kind of got together, and the guys are having a good time, and they decided to kind of just put their foot on top of the hole, and if the person could hit, their foot, they would know that they scored because they wanted to keep the little putt-putt ball as a little souvenir that they had went together and had this putt-putt tournament, right? And so kind of did their thing. At the end of the day, my pastor friend told this story. He said he's laying in his bed, and he's taking his little purple putt-putt ball, and he's just throwing it up against the wall and catching it. He's kind of doing this. And right there in the little, place they were staying, and he's on his bed doing that, and Coach Ken walks in, and he says, hey, where'd you get that little golf ball? And he's like, I don't know. I just kind of stuttering all over himself, doesn't know what to say. And he's like, I've got this ball. He said, you took that ball. He said, dude, you're off the team. I said, what? He said, I'm off the team. He said, what do you mean I'm off the team? He said, yeah. He said, you don't have any integrity, man. You're not playing for me. You're not playing for me. So my friend, he starts begging, please, please, please. Don't take me off the team, man. Like, what do I have to do? And Coach Ken looked at me and said, if you have integrity, that's all that really matters. And if you don't have integrity, that's all that really matters. I thought, ooh. He said, if you want to play on this team, you want to play for me, he said, you're going to take that putt-putt ball back. You're going to go apologize for stealing that, and you're going to live a life of integrity. It's a good story. I thought about those words, and it really stuck with me. Phrase stuck out. Maybe you could write it down. If you have integrity, it's really all that matters. And if you don't have integrity, it's really all that matters. Who are you as a person? So let me ask you this question. What do you do when you realize that you don't have integrity? Very quickly, and we'll wrap this up. What do you do when you realize you don't have integrity? And by the way, this happens all the time. You see people that, even become Rev group leaders that don't have integrity. They're like, I'm the greatest Rev group leader in all the world. And yet the person's like abusing his wife at home or looking at pornography, right? These type of things. Or you have a woman of God. Oh, she's a prayer warrior. Yes, she is, but she's sleeping with the guy from work. That's not her husband, okay? Like, that's an issue. This person's a great business leader, but he's cheating people right and left. Cheating people, being dishonest with the monies. Could be smaller things. Well, I'm a Christian. Yeah, but you lie habitually all the time, and you just call it a little white lie and say it's not that big of a deal. That's a problem. See, it always gets quieter in the room, Danny. I know you're kind of newer to the church, but Danny, it gets quieter in the room. The better the preaching is, the quieter it gets. Start hitting on people's toes and start talking about stuff that we really need to talk about. That's kind of how it goes. It's just the way that it is. What do you do when you recognize that you've lacked integrity? Well, here's one that I think is really important. Man, you really need to get to know Jesus. I'm not talking about knowing about him. I'm talking about really getting to know him. You say, why is getting to know Jesus so important? Because we are bent towards sin, guys. We're bent towards doing the wrong things. And unless you get the Spirit of the living God, the Holy Spirit of God, living, moving, breathing on the inside of you because you've really got to know him. You've studied him. You've studied his words. You have his truths in your heart. If you really get to know Jesus, it's by the power of the Holy Spirit that you'll be able to be who you need to be in Christ. You'll be able to live a life of integrity. Second thing I would recommend is not just get to know Jesus, but go repent to the people you've misrepresented yourself to. One of the most spiritual things some of you guys could do right now, whether you're here or you're watching online, is to go have a conversation with somebody and say, I've said these things or I've done this way, and I really haven't represented myself well. I've had a mask on. I've looked one way. I've played a part, but I shouldn't have done that. When we ask for forgiveness, which, by the way, is another whole forgotten virtue. Goodness gracious, maybe there's a week 7 coming, okay? I don't know. We'll see. All I can tell you is that's a forgotten virtue. We don't apologize for jack anymore. God, I'm sorry. I know you're sorry to God. Well, why don't you go apologize to the person you offended? Okay? And by the way, sometimes people blow it up. Man, I shouldn't go here, Amy. Here it is. Sometimes people blow it up and they stir the pot publicly and they ruin a lot of things, and then they privately want to come and apologize. And I think the apology should match the blow up. I think it should be the same. There's a message there somewhere. Danny, you preach that message. You're probably you, okay? Repent to the people you've misrepresented yourself to. He's like, what am I supposed to do? God's telling you right now, I don't know. You'll get it, okay? And then the third one would be this. The last one is Matthew chapter 5. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Enough saying one thing and doing another. Like, yes, I can do it, or no, I can't. How about we do that instead of living this life of just muddy cloudiness? And let me tell you this, anything beyond this comes from the evil one. When we're shady, when we're deceptive, when we're living a life that's not the right way, there's no peace. And guys, I want more than anything for you to have what God wants for you. God's best. Let's be people of integrity. Let's be people who gain honor and respect and trust from other people. You can be that way. And guys, by the way, when I see this message, when I think about this message, when you hear this message, you go, man, I wish our world was full of people of integrity. It'd be so much a better place. It starts with you and it starts with me. That second song we sang said, God, let it start with us. We strategize our music even. to line up to where we're trying to take people. God, purify us from the inside out. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes? Say, Pastor, oh man, I like you, but I don't like this message. Maybe you don't like me. I don't know. And you say, Pastor, this one's hitting me right between the eyes. I know I need to do better in this area of my life. If that's you, would you just be open and honest? Raise your hand before God and say, God, that's me. I need to be a person of integrity. I need to do better in this area. Guys, hands are going up all over the place. Thank you for your honesty. I love doing life with people that can just take the mask off. Say, yeah, that's me, man. That's me. I want to pray for you right now. God, for all these people who have been open and honest about the life that they're wanting to live, God, I pray that we wouldn't just want to live that life, but we'd actually go live that life. That God, you'd allow us to understand with wisdom what you have for us in this life. How to operate in the day-to-day, how to operate with our kids, what to do with our parenting, how to talk to our spouse, how to talk to the person at work, how to be around that coworker, how to make sure when we're by ourselves we're doing the right thing. God, whenever we're putting invoices out, God, may we honor you in all that we do. And God, I believe with all my heart that as we become the people your word has told us to be, that God, you bless your people. God, you love blessing your children, just like I love blessing my kids when they do right. God, you love blessing us when we do right. And God, even though it may be hard to do the right thing, it's always the right thing to do the right thing. God, may we be people firm in our integrity. That God, at the end of our lives, people could look at us and say, man, they did everything that they claimed they were going to do. That God, at the end of the day, I may have people that criticize me as the leader of this church, but I know my mission is to help people find and follow Jesus. And God, I'm going to continue to do that till my last breath, till the day I die. Doesn't matter what anybody thinks, God. All that matters is that I'm being obedient to your word. God, these people, wherever they go, wherever they work, their daily lives, God, all that matters is if they have integrity. And all that matters is if they don't have integrity. God, let us understand these truths today, and let us be able to decipher the difference. When we see people that have integrity, let us stay close. When we see people that do not walk in integrity, God, let us take some steps back. God, because we need to be healthy in Jesus Christ. God, we pray all these things in your name. Everybody look at me real quick. I always love to give people an opportunity to choose Jesus. To choose Jesus. Jesus loved you so much, he went to a cross for you. And he said, listen, I'm going to pay the price of sin. I'm going to shed my innocent blood. And I'm going to do for you what nobody else was willing to do for you. Guys, I don't have a laundry list of people that were willing to give their life for me ever, for any part of my life. And I don't think you do either. But there is this one person that said, I would do anything to get to you. His name's Jesus. Jesus says, if you believe that my death on that cross could pay for your sin, you can have everlasting life and eternity with heaven with me. And he said, I want that for you. I want to be in relationship with you. I want to have fellowship with you. And so he asks you to come to him. And this prayer of salvation is really just inviting him to be the Lord of your life. But before I pray it, before I lead you to it, you need to know that 3 days after they crucified him on that cross, he rose again to prove to you, to me, and the entire world that he is a God that's worth following. He's a God that's worth following. Believers in the room, would you join us in prayer? Nobody prays alone today. If you need to give your life to Jesus right where you're seated, just pray and repeat with all of us. Say, God, thank you for loving me. Thank you for sending Jesus for me. Be my Lord and be my Savior. Forgive me of my sin. Forgive me for doing life my way. Show me your way. Fill me with your Spirit and guide me by your word. Make me who you created me to be. Amen. Welcome people into the family of God. Come on, woo! All right. Amen. Well, guys, if you're here with us live, you can fill out your communication card, and on the bottom, check the box that says, I made a commitment to follow Jesus today, and drop this in the black boxes on your way out. If you're watching online, you can comment and message us, let us know you prayed that prayer, or you can text the word New Me with your phone to the number on the screen, 31996. New Me with no spaces to 31996, guys, and we love celebrating what God is doing in your heart. I'd love to follow up with you, and I can't follow up in that decision unless you let us know you made that decision to trust Jesus. Guys, real quick, do not speed over what I just did right there. We are too comfortable with what I just did right there. And I'm telling you, spreading the gospel good news of Jesus Christ is why a church exists, okay? Hold on. We're going to get fired up. I'm not talking about a building. I'm talking about a church. We exist to do this right here. Anything aside from this is not a church. It's a good social club, but y'all can go hang out at the gym together. Y'all can go hang out at karaoke together. You can go to the bar together and get a drink together. This is why we do what we do right here, okay? I'm not ashamed of it. I'll keep doing it. I'm going to do it until everybody's sick of it, and I don't care. This is what we exist to do as a church. Don't miss that. Don't miss that. Man, guys, I'm fired up right now. I got a message coming. There's a message coming. I'm working on next series. There's a message coming in 3 weeks. Ooh, that's if I don't add forgiveness in. Danny, you might be speaking about forgiveness. We'll come back to that later. But I'm telling you, there's a message brewing inside of me. Don't miss it. It's that next series. Week 1 of that next series, we're going to talk about the importance of salvation, why we do what we do, eternal security, what this means, what God has for us, and that we can never get tired and complacent in that. The minute we do, we are wrong and we fall. It's coming. All right, guys, we got to get out of here. We're way too late today. I'm fired up. I'm practiced up, man. I'll tell you, if you want to have a good experience, stay for next service. Stay for the third service. It's going to get better because I'm just, that was my practice service right there. Thank you guys for being a part. Thanks for being a part. Guys, we're going to say goodbye to our online campus. Let's wave to them goodbye on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Good.